we elevate it. If it does not, we dismiss it. We owe the Filipino people a process that is fair, steady, and faithful to our mandate. Maraming salamat.
Thank you. As pronounced during day one of our proceeding, we will be deliberating on a per ground basis, although we will be voting on the entirety of the complaint. We will now proceed to the deliberation per ground of the fourth impeachment complaint. Please allow the chair to read Article 1. Culpable violation of the Constitution, betrayal of public trust, and other high crimes, citing the following specific offenses: assassination plot, sedition, and subversion of constitutional order. We are now opening the floor for opinions, comments, and manifestations of the Justice members.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Franz Legaspi.
Madam Chair, just a short manifestation before I make a motion with regard to yesterday's discussions. Madam Chair, just like to manifest, similar to my manifestation yesterday with the Honorable Lyra de Lima's own complaint, that we confine, or rather I address this to the committee members, that we confine our discussions to the facts recited. I would also like to manifest, based on my observations yesterday, that we uphold the respect, the dignity, and decorum that this committee deserves, that our chamber is expected to have. The nation is watching us, and I still ideally believe that as public officials or even law practitioners, that people will look up to our characters as examples to look up to, and how we will act today, how we will treat others, speak about others, will ultimately shape the values of our people, especially to my fellow youth in the years to come. With this, I wish to reiterate that we confine our manifestations to relevant statements, that we maintain our discussions to the facts recited, and have a fruitful, respectful, and dignified discussion ahead. With this, I move that the discussions yesterday, as they are similar to the impeachment complaint today, be adopted as well for the Cabrera impeachment complaint, as the grounds in both complaints are very similar. Thank you, Madam Chair.
There is a motion to adopt the discussion yesterday on the sufficiency in substance of the third impeachment complaint. In our today's deliberation, in the sufficiency in substance of the fourth impeachment complaint, with respect to similar grounds appearing in the two impeachment complaints. Do I hear a second? The same has been seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is hereby approved. The discussions yesterday in the sufficiency in substance of the third impeachment complaint is adopted for the purpose of the determination of sufficiency in substance of the fourth impeachment complaint. May we know if there are Justice members who wish to comment or manifest on the first ground.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable Sab.
let me just point out the specific paragraphs in the fourth impeachment complaint that refer to the impeachable offense charged. We find the acts under paragraphs 85 to 111, and these are all about assassination plot. For the record, Madam Chair, thank you very much.
Before we proceed, we will sense of the Honorable Deputy Speaker Kong Hoon, the Honorable Deputy Minority Leader Jesus Manuel Bontay, the Honorable Deputy Majority Leader Eliza Mica M. Gonzalez, the Honorable Deputy Minority Leader Stephen James Titan, the Honorable Congressman Jose Joboy S. Aquino II from the Lone District of the City of Butuan. We likewise acknowledge the Honorable Deputy Majority Leader Vincenzo Renato Luigi R. Villapuerte. We acknowledge as well the Honorable Deputy Minority Leader Reynolds Michael Titan. We acknowledge as well the Honorable Congressman Robert Nazal from BH Party List. We acknowledge also the Honorable Deputy Majority Leader Maria Alana Samantha T. Santos. We acknowledge as well the Honorable Congressman Vincenzo Renato Luigi Villapuerte already. We also acknowledge the Honorable Deputy Majority Leader Hill Cabarangay A. Acosta Jr. And finally, we acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Terry L. Ridon from the Bicol Saro Party List. We acknowledge Honorable Deputy Speaker Yaser Alonto Balindong. And finally, we acknowledge the presence of Senior Minority Leader, the Honorable Laila De Lima. We are now opening the floor for comments, further comments and manifestations of the Justice members with respect to the first round of impeachment of the fourth impeachment complaint.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable Joboy Aquino.
I'd like to make a manifestation, Madam Chair, in regards to the first question. Does the first round of impeachment of the fourth impeachment complaint contain a recital of facts constituting the offenses charged and demonstrative of the jurisdiction of the Committee on Justice? Madam Chair, I do believe the answer is yes. That the first round contains a recital of facts constituting culpable violation of the Constitution, betrayal of public trust, and other crimes when VP Duterte admitted to contracting an assassin to kill the President, First Lady, and the former Speaker of the House of Representatives. Second, what are the recital facts that constitute culpable violation of the Constitution, betrayal of public trust, and other high crimes? The complaint contains an allegation that VP Duterte, during a live press conference which was showed yesterday, Madam Chair, publicly declared that she had already asked a person to take revenge, and that if I get killed, patayin mo si BBM, si Liza Araneta, at si former Speaker Martin Romualdez. No joke and no joke. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Joboy Aquino. Any other member who wishes to manifest on the first ground? If there are no other members, the Honorable Suntay.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Kaya ho ng aking binanggit kahapon. Dito naman sa pang-apat na impeachment complaint, ang pangunahing allegation ng complaint ay nagsasaad, respondent publicly declared during a live broadcast press conference that she has arranged for a person to kill President Marcos Jr., the First Lady, and the former Speaker Martin Romualdez, if she is killed. Ito ang ginawang basihan ng Article 1 para sabihin may culpable violation of the Constitution, betrayal of public trust, at other high crimes. Pero kapag sinuri ito sa ilalim ng Rule 3, Section 5 ng Rules of Procedures ng impeachment proceeding, may malinaw na problema sa sufficiency in substance. Ang requirement ng rule ay may recital of facts constituting the offense charged. Hindi sapat ang statement na kontrobersyal or politically shocking. Sa complaint na ito, ang allegation ay speech lamang. Walang alegasyon na may actual hitman na kinuha. Walang maipakitang may agreement nga o conspiracy na ipatupad dito. Wala rin na ipakitang may payment o arrangement na ginawa in order to facilitate such statements. Wala rin maipakitang weapon procurement o alleged overt act. Sa ilalim ng constitutional law, malinaw ang doctrine na kahit incendiary, inflaming, or shocking ang speech, ito ay protected under the freedom of speech. Naipailalim ito sa Brandenburg versus Ayo na sinabi ng korte that the speech can only be punished if it is directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action and likely to incite or produce such action. Ang parehong principle ay kinilala sa Philippine jurisprudence tulad ng Salonga versus Cruz Paño kung saan sinabi ng Supreme Court na kahit radical o disturbing a statement ay hindi punishable kung walang imminent and lawful action. Madaling salita, kahit pa tapang, galit, exaggerated ang political rhetoric, hindi automatic na ito ay krimen. Ang complaint ay umaasa sa interpretasyon ng statement, hindi sa factual acts constituting treason, sedition, or conspiracy. There is a Latin maxim, conclusion non probat factum. Ang conclusion ay hindi proof ng fact. Thank you.
The Honorable SDML Noy Defensor.
That's wrong, Madam Chair. We are discussing on the sufficiency and substance and the irrelevant, illogical statements made. Defense has no point because this is a direct threat to the life of the sovereign. And the allegation that the Vice President has contracted an assassin who is prepared to kill the President, whether or not there is a condition, as alleged in both complaints, I have seen the evidence and I have seen all the supporting documents, and this allegation is trial ready. Madam Chair, I move that we proceed to the next allegation.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable, is that a motion, Honorable Defensor?
Yes, it's a motion to proceed to the next allegation.
I object, Madam Chair. Second.
There is a motion.
Let us give a chance to everyone to speak on each ground. And my good friend, and whom I respect so much, should be minded to withdraw that because precisely there are others who wish to speak. And we cannot stifle any member of the Justice Committee. And our chairman has always allowed everybody to speak until everybody has spoken in this committee. So we appeal to my good friend to withdraw that so that we can
Only
proceed.
because the Honorable Rufus Rodriguez has requested me to withdraw. I would gracefully withdraw my motion, Madam Chair.
That is a statesman. You see, Mr. Chairman, our deputy is a statesman.
Just for the record, the motion to proceed to the next ground has been formally withdrawn.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All the manifestations of the Justice members are duly noted. At this juncture, we recognize the Honorable Nazal and then Honorable Chua
Thank you. About me.
and then Honorable Rodriguez.
Third, that is fine.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair. Consistent with the constitutional threshold articulated under Article 11 and the ultimate facts rule applied during the PBBM proceedings last February 4, 2026, I respectfully submit that Article 1 of the fourth complaint fails the test of sufficiency in substance. The allegations rely principally on public statements characterized as an admission of contracting an assassin. However, even assuming hypothetical admission of the pleaded facts, the complaint does not set forth the essential elements of an indictable offense. There is no identification of an alleged assassin, no pleaded meeting of minds, no overt act towards execution, no defined consideration, and no operational step taken beyond speech. Conspiracy requires implementation elements. Sedition requires overt acts. Culpable violation requires a specific willful breach of a constitutional duty. None are pleaded with particularity. General invocations of a constitutional order and oath-taking cannot substitute for a clearly identified constitutional provision will be violated. Under the standard consistently applied in the PBBM proceedings, rhetoric, however, does not become an impeachable offense, absent ultimate facts establishing execution. Accordingly, Article 1 rests on inference and conclusion rather than pleaded ultimate facts and is insufficient in substance. I so manifest. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next is the Honorable Chua.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, mukhang nalilito po yung mga kasama natin. Wala po tayo dito para determine yung criminal aspect ng complaint. Nandito po tayo para tignan natin kung pag binasa po natin itong facts, ito po ba papasok as impeachable offense? Now, let me clarify this. Ito pong Article 1 makikita po natin sa paragraph 83 pababa. At dito po, sa paragraph 85, dito po, clearly and expressly, binanggit po dito yung kataga na binanggit po ng ating Vice Presidente. At ano po to? Already as a person to take revenge and that if I killed, patayin mo si BBM, si Lisa Araneta, at si Martin Romualdez. No joke, no joke. Now, paano po ito papasok bilang impeachable offense? Sabi po dito sa impeachment complaint, sabi po dito, makikita natin to sa paragraph 91 to 93. Ano po to? Meron daw pong culpable violation ng Constitution. Now, ano po yung specific provision sa ating Constitution ang binayolate? So makikita naman po natin to sa Article 7, Section 5. Dahil dito po, sa Article 7, Section 5, nakasaad po dito ng ating saligang batas, and I quote, Madam Chair, before they enter on the execution of their office, the President, the Vice President, or the Acting President shall make the following oath or affirmation. Ang second paragraph, ito po yung kanilang oath. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully and conscientiously fulfill my duties as President or Vice President or Acting President of the Philippines, preserve and defend its Constitution, execute its law, do justice to every man, and consecrate myself to the service of the nation. Defend its Constitution and execute its laws. Definitely, yung pagbabanta po is not a form of executing its laws. And therefore, there is a clear violation and culpable violation of the Constitution. Second, sinabi po dito at binanggit din po dito sa complaint, betrayal of public trust. At dito po defined under paragraph 94, the Supreme Court has defined betrayal of public trust as a catch-all ground encompassing acts that constitute gross faithlessness against public trust, tyrannical abuse of power, inexcusable negligence of duty, favoritism, and gross exercise of discretionary power to the prejudice of the public interest. Gross faithlessness, pagtataksil sa tiwala ng publiko. Definitely yung pagbabanta po sa ating Papangulo, sa First Lady, at sa ating Speaker ay maliwanag na pagtataksil. Dahil itong tao po, yung Pangulo po natin, ay pinagkatiwalaan at hinalal para mamuno po sa ating bansa. We have to look at the surface. Hindi ko po sinasabi na guilty na. Dahil yung guilty or not, yung trial po yan sa Senado. Ang nandito lamang po ay by mere narration of facts. Sa pagbabasa lamang po ba nito, eh meron po bang grounds na na-violate? I submit, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chua. Before we proceed, we acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Congressman Jose Manuel Tadeo Chel Jokno from Akbayan Party List. We acknowledge as well our Deputy Speaker, Honorable Raymond Democrito C. Mendoza. And finally, welcome and acknowledge our Senior Deputy Speaker, the Honorable Ferdinand L. Hernandez, of course, from the 2nd District of South Cotabato. Thank you for coming to all the Congs. Now we proceed. We acknowledge the Honorable Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Article 1 is based on three grounds for impeachment. First is the culpable violation of the Constitution. Second, betrayal of public trust. And third, other high crimes. Support these three grounds for impeachment as found in our Constitution. It has three acts that are alleged to support these three, and which are assassination plot, sedition, and subversion. Let us go first to subversion, not as a crime itself, but as a support to the three, either of the three. And so, subversion, Madam Chair, was precisely made illegal in 1937 under Republic Act 1700. However, subversion, like in this case, the state subversion of constitutional order, subversion, Republic Act 1700, was repealed precisely in 1992 during democratic times. In 1992, Republic Act 7636 removes subversion. It cannot be a crime nor a support now to the three grounds that we have. Completely repealed in 1992. The subversion aspect of an act of a Filipino. Then we have sedition, Madam Chair. Sedition is an act of publicly uprising and tumultuously engaging in acts to really remove the established governmental officials. So it cannot be because Sara Duterte did not publicly rise with arms to be able to remove the present government. Probably what they want to say is inciting to sedition. Because sedition itself is governed by our Article 139 of the Revised Penal Code, the rising public ill tumultuously. If you go to Article 142, this will be inciting to sedition, but there is also no recital of facts that the Vice President made speeches or made publications to say, let us remove the present administration. Nothing. In fact, yesterday, if you see the video, she was just present. When her father spoke. Second, when Kibolo had a mass at a gathering, but she did not speak there. So therefore, against the present government, these two are out, definitely out. Subversion of constitutional order is no basis to say there is violation of the Constitution, nor sedition or even inciting to sedition. So we now go to assassination plot. Here we go. This is what is cited in the first paragraph on factual allegations is under page 28, paragraph 85. So now, already as a person to take revenge, and that if I get killed, patayin mo si BBM, Lisa Raneta, at si Martin Romualdez. No joke. Now, we have to distinguish, Madam Chair, between conditional threat and threat with a condition. This is defined by the Supreme Court. What is a conditional threat? And what is threat with a condition? Example of a second one. Threat with a condition. I will kill you if you give me 1 million pesos. That is a threat with a condition. There's still liability. However, conditional threat, like I'll kill you if I am killed, that is a threat from the grave. So, even, Madam Chair, even the late presidential legal advisor, the late Juan Ponce Enrile, I saw him in an interview. He said there's no crime because it is conditional. The entire, statement about killing somebody only arises if you are dead, and both of them are very much alive. However, this is now the situation. The one who said it is the Vice President. The persons where the conditional threat is being mentioned is the President, the First Lady, and the Speaker. Therefore,
regarding Article 1 of the fourth impeachment complaint. I was part of the prosecution team in the last impeachment, and I handled this. And we saw the evidence of the NBI. In fact, for the information of everyone, this went to the NBI. The NBI filed a case, and they have the evidence. Now, that threat were conditional, is inconsequential. We heard what the Honorable Janice Negamo said yesterday, and I believe that, well, we were all touched and maybe disturbed by what she said yesterday. She said that their family received threats, conditional at the start, but in the end, the threats became real and her husband was murdered. The video that we are talking about was viewed by everyone, including international media, international persons. This happened on the 23rd of November, 2024, early morning. And we all saw how the Vice President hurled expletives and publicly admitted that she had set into motion a clear plot to assassinate the President, the First Lady, and the former Speaker of the House. These acts, Madam Chair, are stated, as I said earlier, in paragraphs 85 to 111 of the impeachment complaint. It is clear that the overt acts that we are looking for are in the impeachment complaint. The video that we are all talking about was mentioned in the annexes, or was it, yes, it was mentioned in the annexes of the complaint. And for everyone's information, this is what we call res ipsa loquitur, or the thing speaks for itself. Everyone heard what the Vice President said, and again, these are mentioned in the impeachment complaint. So we do not go into the elements of the different crimes of the revised penal code. Madam Chair, that she said these words and that she contracted an assassin is impeachable in itself. That's all, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other member who wishes to manifest?
Madam Chair, can I be allowed to speak?
This will be your winding up as well, the Honorable Abante.
Yes,
After this, we will be proceeding to the second round. The Honorable Abante is recognized.
upon hearing the statement of Congressman Rufus, medyo umiikot po yung aking isipan tungkol dito sapagkat nakalagay naman sa impeachment complaint natin yung bang grossly inconsistent with the dignity of her office. Now, the question is, proper dignity ba yung statement ni Vice President Sara when it comes to assassination threat? Hindi lamang assassination threat, Madam Chair, assassination plot, sapagkat meron na po siyang hinire na assassin. Sinabi niya
Sinabi niya, hindi joke yan. Pangalawa, yung po sinasabi natin cross-exercise of discretionary powers. Yung pa'y kasama ba sa tinatawag na discretionary powers ng Vice President to threaten the President? Hindi na pinag-uusapan dito yung sedition. Saka yung subversion. Pinag-uusapan po dito, yung dignity ng office ng Vice President. Yung discretion of powers ng Vice President. Yung po ba ang tinatawag natin? Dapat ba na ito ay gawin nating baliwala? Madam Chair, what the VP may claim, the remarks were not serious. A high-ranking official threatening the life of the head of the state is a high crime and a threat to national stability.
Thank you. Now we proceed to Article 2 of the fourth impeachment complaint. Please allow the chair to read. Public trust and graft and corruption. Among offenses cited are misuse and malversation of confidential funds, violation of Joint Memorandum Circular number 2015-01, FOA findings, and falsification of documents. Now we elicit the comment and manifestation of the justice members.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable Rodriguez.
most of the guys not here, so I just go ahead. Because you would have been first always. Madam Chair, on Article 2, it is betrayal of public trust and graft and corruption. I would just like to take exception in accordance with what I stated yesterday. Page 34 includes the DepEd. And as I have stated, and I remind again, members of the Committee on Justice, that we have no jurisdiction over actuations of the former Secretary of the Department of Education. So, page 934, we say that the statement of corruption by grossly abusing discretionary authority over confidential funds appropriated to the OVP, that's fine, but the statement that DepEd is totally out of the jurisdiction of this committee, the actuations of the former Secretary. Then on page, Madam Chair, on page 36, once again, 122.3 paragraph, 125 million in DepEd confidential funds in the late 2022-2023. Again, DepEd, we cannot have jurisdiction over DepEd. The case of Duterte versus House of Representatives clearly state that the impeachable offenses must relate to the acts of the position and the office where the person is sought to be impeached. And we're not going to impeach the Secretary of a department here, but there is an allegation against her as the Vice President. So that is page 36. And then on page 38, we have here 129 paragraph. It says, around the sampling, receipts and acknowledgement receipts submitted by the OVP and DepEd revealed numerous defects. So once again, the statement of DepEd, the statement about DepEd is that it is beyond our jurisdiction. And then also 132, several receipts, OVP and DepEd should not be included. Now, on page 39, there is this allegation of physical distribution and third-party deliveries, use of DepEd vehicles and personnel. Again, this is about DepEd. It could not be part of our investigation on the allegations of the impeachment. And so, Madam Chair, those are my observation on Article 2. Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, the chair wishes to remind the justice members, while we value the significance of all your arguments, we resolved already to adopt the discussion we had yesterday in the determination of sufficiency in substance of the third impeachment complaint for the purpose of our deliberation on the sufficiency in substance of the fourth impeachment complaint. We therefore encourage the members to raise new matters. Members who wish to manifest, the Honorable Chua and then
Madam Chair.
Honorable Pino,
Madam Chair.
Honorable Joboy Aquino, and Honorable Chel
Madam
Jong,
Chair.
and Honorable Abante,
Madam Chair.
and Honorable Nazal. Honorable Chua first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, as already manifested yesterday, I stand with my position that the Vice President, we should not distinguish between her position as Secretary of DepEd and Vice President by, again, citing the constitutional provision that under the Constitution, the Vice President may be appointed as member of the Cabinet, and such appointment requires no control. Meaning to say that the appointment of the Vice President as Secretary of DepEd is concurrent position. Hindi po siya ma-appoint doon if she were not the Vice President. And secondly, siya nga lang po ang nag-iisang Vice President, siya nga lang po nag-iisang Cabinet Secretary na hindi na kailangan ng confirmation precisely dahil siya po ay Vice President. And thirdly, in addition to those statements and for the information of the body, the Vice President as Secretary of the DepEd is not receiving any allowance or emolument as Secretary of DepEd. Therefore, and it is very obvious na kaya po siya nandoon, again, because of her position as Vice President. Having said that, Madam Chair, I would like also to point out that from the perusal of the second argument, po dito, ito pong second ground, ang court on the allegation that the Vice President has committed betrayal of public trust and graft and corruption. Now, paano po pumasok ito? Babasahin po natin doon sa paragraph 1, 2, 3. Sabi po dito, on 20 December 2022, Land Bank check number 224,244,027 in the amount of 125 million was issued to the OBP and in cash at the Land Bank Show Boulevard by SDO Gina Acosta. So dito po sa paragraph na to, makikita natin, wala pa pong participation. Now, ito pong paragraph 1, 2, 3, this should be read in relation to paragraph 1, 3, 4. Dito po sa Madriaga Affidavit, chain of custody. Dahil ito pong winidraw dito sa paragraph 1, 2, 3, no, 125 million na in-encash na sinasabi na nilagay po sa mga multiple bags na nakalagay sa paragraph 125 na binigay po kay Dante La Chica ay binigay po kay Madriaga. At dito naman po si Madriaga, sinasabi po niya na ito daw duffel bag, 4 na duffel bag na kinuha niya ng cash sa Ultra Pasig City noong December 20, 2022. Take note of the date, Madam Chair. Ibig sabihin, ito rin yung araw kung kailan in-encash yung 125 million. Siya daw ay nag-deliver netong 4 na duffel bag sa various recipient including a mayor in Laguna, an office in Timog, vehicle left at the Ombudsman parking compound for retrieval. At this point, wala pa rin pong participation ng ating Vice President. Now, ano po napunta dito? Paano po ito naging impeachable offense? Makikita po natin yan sa paragraph 150. Kasi dito po sa paragraph 150, nakalagay po dito, the OBP SDO's testimony that they were instructed over cash to intermediaries, which is Nolasco to Madriaga, at the direction of respondent Sara Duterte supports direct liability. So dito po pumapasok yung participation ng respondent. Kaya po, dito po pumapasok yung grounds which is grave, which is betrayal of public trust and graft and corruption. So with that, pagbabasahin lamang po natin yung facts, makikita po natin na may sufficient substance. That's all, Madam Chair.
We just want to share to the Justice members that the Madriaga affidavit referred to by the Honorable Chua is part of the attachments, I think, of both the third and the fourth impeachment complaint. That's for the guidance of the Justice members. Before we proceed, we would like to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Zia Alonto Adjong from the 1st District of Lanao del Sur. We also acknowledge the presence of Deputy Majority Leader Crispin Diego D. Remulla. And we acknowledge as well the presence of Deputy Speaker David J.J.C. Suarez. To proceed, we would like to acknowledge, to recognize the Honorable Joboy Aquino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Earlier, Madam Chair, we heard that from our good friend, Congressman Rufus Rodriguez, that we cannot, as Education Secretary, we cannot impeach her because they covered. But all I want to say, Madam Chair, is it is the same person also that is being accused of a crime, commit murder. So, what I'm trying to say, isang tao lang to, pero ginagawa niya sa OVP, ginagawa niya rin sa DepEd. That's all. Simple lang yan, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Next is the Honorable Tino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, initially, I raised my hand in order to ask for clarification regarding the relevance of the initial motion that was carried, that the discussions on the third hearing that are relevant to the fourth complaint are carried. So, you already clarified that indeed they are carried, and therefore we do not need to spend so much time recapitulating the arguments that were already raised yesterday, including this argument of our esteemed Dean of Law and colleague, Dean Rufus, Congressman Rufus. So he mentioned again the argument about the Vice President as against the Deputy Secretary. And so, we don't have to go through the debates again. And I would just like to say that once again, my position is that we are not impeaching the Deputy Secretary, which would be absurd, but the Vice President carrying out her function as a member of the Cabinet as provided for in the Constitution, as Deputy Secretary. So yun po ang ginagawa natin dito, kaya nasa jurisdiction po yan ng komite. Ngayon, regarding the second article in the complaint, I believe that it is sufficient in substance because the allegations here are betrayal of public trust and committing acts of graft and corruption by grossly abusing discretionary authority over confidential funds appropriated to the OVP and DepEd, causing or permitting the fabrication and submission of implausible liquidation documents, directing the physical transfer and distribution of large cash sums outside lawful accounting channels, and by obstructing audit and congressional oversight. So, kompleto po yun, no? Mula sa pag-abuso sa confidential funds hanggang sa pagtatakip ng abusong ito sa pamamagitan ng pagpeke ng mga dokumento na sinabmit sa COA at o pagtanggi niya na magpaliwanag sa Kongreso gamit nito. And from paragraphs 100 from paragraphs 121 to 122.3, yun po yung tungkol sa 125 na naubos in 11 days. Tapos from paragraphs 129 to 133, ito naman po yung tungkol sa fabrication of accomplishment reports. And from paragraphs 138 to 140, ito naman po yung tungkol sa refusal of congressional oversight. So I believe, Madam Chair, sufficient po yung allegation of facts to support betrayal of public trust and graft and corruption. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Tino. Next in line is the Honorable Chel Jokno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. While I continue to respect Congressman Rufus Rodriguez despite his comments about law deans, I have to disagree with his argument. First of all, because if we carry that argument to its logical conclusion, it would mean, for example, that if a vice president were to attend a function as Secretary of Education, where the president was also present, and then let's say, hypothetically, were to brandish a firearm or even discharge it at the president, then does that mean that she cannot be impeached? Second, if we carry that argument, then that would mean that the vice president could easily hide behind that distinction and commit plunder, commit other high crimes as Secretary of Education, and so I really must disagree. It's impossible to distinguish those two positions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
For the guidance of the members, the exchange of argument is with respect to the jurisdiction of the Justice Committee with regards to the offenses committed as Secretary of Department of Education, as to whether or not they can still be considered as within the jurisdiction of the Justice proceedings, Justice Committee proceedings with respect to impeachment offenses. Next is the Honorable Benny Abante.
On the issue of, just like what my good friend Congressman Ruf said, the VP Sara as DepEd Secretary is not an impeachable officer, and therefore the House Committee on Justice has no jurisdiction over her. Now to me, that would be a clever technical argument. Kaya ako ngayon nag-aaral na ng law. Kaya hindi ako abogado dahil Congressman Rufus, magaling talaga ito. Kaya can you imagine, napupuyat ako sa pag-aaral. But anyway, Madam Chair, ito pong clever technical argument na ito, it intentionally confuses the position held with the person holding it. In the Philippine context, the House Committee on Justice jurisdiction is not determined by the status of the person being charged, not the specific desk they were sitting at when the act occurred. For example, nakita ko rin po yung tinatawag nating single personality doctrine. Ito po ang punto rito. You are not impeaching a secretary. You are impeaching the Vice President for her conduct while in public service. The Vice President does not have any split personality. Sino ba ang ating tinutukoy dito? Si Mr. Jekyll ba? Si Dr. Hyde. Di ba? Not a split personality. She is a single impeachable officer. Whether she is performing her duties as the OVP or at DepEd, she remains the Vice President of the Philippines, Madam Chair. You cannot strip away her impeachable status just because she stepped into a cabinet meeting. If she commits graft as DepEd Secretary, tulad po na nabanggit ni Congressman Chel Jokno, she has committed graft as the Vice President. And that makes her unfit for office. Ito po ang punto. The Constitution identifies betrayal of public trust as a ground for impeachment. It does not say betrayal of public trust only in the performance of the office of the Vice President duties. If she used her position as a high-ranking official to mismanage DepEd funds or take bribes, she has betrayed the trust the people place in her as what? As the second highest official of the land. The House has jurisdiction because the person is an impeachable officer. Yun lang po, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Abante. Next is the Honorable Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, gusto ko na sana may balik usapin about what the Justice Committee is about to be doing right now. I think the questions on whether she was doing it as Secretary ba or as Vice President should be totally left to the discretion of the Vice President whether or not she wants to use the defense. Dapat pagbigyan na po natin yung Vice President to choose kung gagamitin niya ba ito as an issue in her defense or whether to ignore it. Wala po sa atin yan. Ang importante po is iba natin ang usapin sa ano ba ang trabaho ng Justice Committee. And our work only, Madam Chair, is to determine whether or not may sufficiency in substance po ba ang allegations that are stated in the impeachment complaint. So whether or not we have jurisdiction as far as her position is concerned, whether as DepEd Secretary or as Vice President, I believe it is siguro our responsibility also to leave it to the Vice President whether to adopt this kind of defense or not. Or even not to answer it at all, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam
The
Chair.
Honorable Ridon.
Well, sa totoo lang ho, kahit hindi na ho natin pag-usapan yung split personality between Vice President and DepEd Secretary, siguro maganda pag-usapan na lang ho natin yung usapin po ng tenure. Kasi impeachable officials are impeachable within the tenure of office. So the Vice President has a tenure of office from June 30, 2022 to June 30, 2028. So ang tanong po, yung po bang mga impeachable acts, impeachable offenses, kailan po ito nangyari? Nangyari po ba ito within this particular tenure of office ng isang impeachable officer? Kung ang sagot po dyan ay oo, and quite certainly, yung pong acts niya Vice President happened during her tenure of office while she was DepEd Secretary, pasok po yun as impeachable acts and impeachable offenses while she is Vice President. Yun lang po, Madam Chair.
And of course, we recognize the Honorable Defensor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Para matapos na din itong usapin tungkol sa depensa na magkahiwalay ang personality nila, we simply have to go back to the enumeration under the Constitution na ang impeachable officers ay the President, the Vice President, the members of the Supreme Court, the members of the Constitutional Commissions, and the Ombudsman without qualification, without exception, na nagsasabing unless otherwise they are appointed as DepEd Secretary or DNR Secretary. So that would be clear, and it's the Constitution itself that has laid down that enumeration to establish the jurisdiction of the committee. Maraming salamat, Chair.
Thank you. That concludes our
Madam Chair.
deliberation on the
Madam
second
Chair.
round.
Hindi pa ako natawag.
The Honorable Tay.
On the alleged misuse of confidential funds. Ginagamit ito ng complainant para ipakita na may misuse o malversation ng confidential funds. Pero mahalagang tandaan na ang paggamit ng confidential funds ay governed ng COA CPM Joint Circular 2015-01. Sa circular na ito, kinikilala na ang confidential funds ay ginagamit para saan? Surveillance activities, intelligence gathering, informal payments. Dahil dito, cash transactions talaga lahat yan. So hindi porket may mga cash transactions o may movement ng funds, ibig sabihin, meron ng malversation o merong corruption na nangyayari. Hindi rin pwedeng sabihin bakit nagastos yung pera in 11 days as alleged. Dahil ang spending, yung bilis ng paggastos, hindi naman automatic, ibig sabihin illegal na. Confidential operations often require immediate payments to sources like informants. Ang mas mahalagang problema sa complaint ay hindi nito pinapakita kung saan napunta ang pera. May personal benefit pa na pumunta o nakuha ang Vice Presidente. Wala sa complaint allegations na tumanggap siya ng bahagi ng pera. Walang nakasaad na may asset bang nabili using that funds. May bank transfer ba papunta sa kanya. Ang reliance ng complaint, kung babasahin natin, mula sa mga COA audit findings. Audit observation memorandum, notice of suspension, notice of disallowance. Pero sa ilalim ng COA audit rules, ano ba yung audit observation memorandum? Preliminary observation lang ito. Ano yung notice of suspension? Pagkulang ng dokumento. Ano yung notice of disallowance? Administrative finding. Pero ito,
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, point of order muna.
There's a point of order. Honorable Santay, let's hear the point of order of the Honorable Abante.
Yung ba pinag-uusapan natin? Natanong ko yung ba pinag-uusapan natin?
This is about confidential fund.
Oh.
Yes, this is about confidential funds.
Pinag-uusapan natin kanina.
Madam Chair,
Kung
this is
10
regarding
Let's allow the Honorable Abante to finish the point of order.
Ang pinag-uusapan natin kanina, kung yung office ng Secretary of Education, saka yung Vice President's office, impeachable offense ba yun?
Madam Chair,
Pinag-uusapan yun. Dali lang, nagsasalita
Kindly
pa.
wait until he finishes.
No. Pinapaliwanag mo kung paano ginamit ang confidential fund. Hindi pa nga pinag-uusapan yan eh. Pangalawa, paliwanag ka ng paliwanag. Dapat yan pinag-uusapan niya sa impeachment court. Hindi dito. Madam Chair, yun lang.
Per the guidance of the Honorable Abante, there are allegations as to misuse of confidential fund in the office of the Department of Education with the Vice President as Secretary of Education. So, it is my humble submission that the manifestation of the Honorable Suntay is aligned to the deliberation on the second round of the fourth impeachment complaint. The point of order is overruled.
Thank you very much, Madam
The Honorable
Chair.
Suntay may proceed.
And to my good friend, Congressman Abante, if I may continue.
You may. Thank you.
Hindi ito automatic proof ng graft o malversation. Ito ay consistent sa sinabi ng Supreme Court sa Navales versus People at Guillen versus People. GR numbers 219, 598 at 220108. Kung saan sinabi ng Korte na procedural irregularities on procurement violations do not automatically result in criminal liability or graft. Makikita rin, kagaya ng sinabi ng aking paboritong colleague, Congressman Joel Chua kanina, may nabanggit siya tungkol sa kay Madriaga, affidavit ni Madriaga. May tanong ko lang, nasaan ba si Madriaga? Di ba, nakakulong yata. So we are relying on an affidavit issued by an individual who is currently in prison. Now, sino ba si Madriaga? Meron ba siyang appointment kay BP Sara to prove that he is an employee or an authorized person? Para ma-direct na naman natin yung linkage nung dalawa. Kasi if we rely heavily dun sa affidavit niya, it should not come
Madam
from
Chair,
polluted force.
point of
Madam
order.
Chair.
There's another point of order. Let's hear the Honorable Dilima.
Are we talking now here about the credibility of a prospective witness in these proceedings? We're not yet at the evidentiary stage. We're not yet supposed to judge whether or not Mr. Madriaga is credible. So it is premature and it tries to divert the matter now. We're just talking here about the confidential funds and also about the concurrent capacity of the Commission of Offenses of the Vice President in concurrent capacity as Secretary of Education.
Madam
So let's
Chair.
not talk yet about whether or not worthy, whether or not credible, whether or not totoo yung sinasabi ni Madriaga. We have yet to hear from him, aside from this sworn testimony, of a sworn affidavit. So that's out of order, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable Santay.
it is necessary to raise this because his affidavit is attached to the complaint and it's relied on heavily. Yun lang ang
Nevertheless, the Honorable Santay, please be reminded that we are only at the stage of the sufficiency in substance. We are not discussing yet the weight of the evidence attached.
Yes, I know, Madam Chair. I
The
just
point
want
of
to-
order is sustained.
Madam Chair,
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, just a quick rebuttal.
The Honorable Chua.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I agree with
The Honorable Chua is reminded to refrain from further commenting to the manifestation which has been the subject matter of the point of order of the Honorable Dilima.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, this is just a recital of facts. By the reading of the affidavit itself, titignan po natin kung meron nga po talagang offense charge. At maliwanag naman po dito, meron pong perang nilabas, as cited in paragraph 123 of the complaint. And ito pong 125 million na binabanggit dito, sinabi rin po sa paragraph 125 ay pinasa sa kay certain Dante La Chica. At dito rin po sa complaint na to, maliwanag sa paragraph 134 na sinasabi po ni Madriaga na siya po yung kumuha na itong pera at dineliver niya. So meron pong money trail na hinahanap po tayo. Now, bakit po nakunik ang Vice President? Kasi po, sinasabi rin po dito sa paragraph 150, sinasabi po dito na yung pong pagpapasa ng pera from the SDO to another na wala naman pong koneksyon ay upon the instruction of the Vice President. Now, dito rin po sa ating affidavit, nakalagay rin po dito at dinefine din po dito kung ano po ang definition o element ng graft and corruption. Nakalagay po yan sa paragraph 146. RA number 3019, paragraph 3A, penalizes public officers who persuade, induce, or influence another public officer to perform an act constituting a violation of rules and regulation. Definitely, yung pagpupunta po ng pera from one person other than the SDO is a violation of rules and regulation. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Thank you.
reply.
Before I call the Honorable Santay, let me finish first with the list. The Honorable Nasal and then the Honorable Acosta.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Article 2 likewise fails to meet the constitutional threshold of sufficiency in substance. The issues raised, particularly those concerning confidential funds, under Joint Circular number 2015-01, audit observation memoranda and notices of disallowance were substantially discussed during prior deliberations. Nung in-apply ng committee yung standards na ito during the PBBM proceedings, sinabi nun na ang preliminary audit findings are not final adjudications of liability. Audit observation memoranda and notices of disallowance remain appealable and subject to administrative and judicial review. Kaya standing alone, kitang-kita na these do not establish graft malversation or betrayal of public trust. Rapid liquidation by itself is not per se unlawful. Cash handling is intrinsic to the nature of confidential intelligence funds. What must be pleaded are ultimate facts of unlawful conversion, personal appropriation, manifest bad faith, or a specific amount personally received by the respondent. Pag binasa yung complaint, wala naman naka-allege dito na essential elements. Puro inferences lang ang meron. Inference is not an ultimate fact. For these reasons, Article 2 likewise fails the insufficiency in substance threshold. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next is the Honorable Acosta.
Madam Chair, while I agree to the Congressman Nazal and Congressman Bong Suntay that our findings are not criminal judgment, but are highly relevant in this discussion on whether or not pleaded facts in this court complaint shows an accountability breach. Our test here for the members is whether the complaint, the fourth complaint, pleads objective or deep red flags, which is the ultimate facts recited, supporting betrayal of public trust and that of graft and corruption, Madam Chair. My second question, Madam Chair, is for the two gentlemen who, Pastor Abante and Congressman Ortega. In their pleading, Madam Chair, one of the evidentiary value is JC number 2015-01, and in relation to that, notice of disallowance addressed to the fee dated August 8, 2024. My question, Madam Chair, on whether or not Annex G2 or the notice of disallowance August 8, 2024 have already attained finality.
Would you like to comment, Honorable Abante? He's asking about the status of the notice of disallowance. I believe this is the 73 million of the Department of Education.
I think, Madam Chair, that the COA would have more of the right to answer that than us, because they're the ones that actually gave,
Honorable
allowance.
Acosta,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
are you done?
Madam Chair, can I be able to just answer the manifestation of Congressman Nazal?
Before I call you Honorable Abante, allow the chair to call first the Honorable Suntay.
Thank you. Just a quick reply to the statement made by our good friend, Rep. Joel Chua. Yung nabanggit niyang pera that went to La Chica and passed hands, that shows movement of funds. It is not a proof of illegality of use or personal appropriations of the said funds. In fact, the VP is a high-ranking official, and she relies heavily, and as well as other officials, on her subordinates, accountants, unless it can be shown and can be proved that she personally fabricated the receipts, she received the money, or she had gain from those funds, then I believe that the allegation is not substantial. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Before I bring back to you the floor, Honorable Abante, since you are the endorser, let me finish first the other congs. The Honorable Ridon is recognized.
I think most of the matter has already been discussed yesterday. We're basically just prosecuting the points that had already been raised yesterday. Even the defenses of Vice President had already been stated yesterday, which is why endorsers and other congressmen are also prosecuting the points. No? But I think, Madam Chair, even if we remove the Madriaga affidavit, the basis of the notice of disallowance, which remains pending before the commission and bank, can actually stand on its own as proof of accountability of the Vice President in the misuse of confidential funds. No? So wag na ho natin pag-usapan muna yung laman po ng paano ho yung from La Chica to Madriaga. Kahit tanggalin po natin yun, Madam Chair, itindig po yung usapin po ng malversation. Kahapon sinagot na rin naman ho natin, hindi ho requirement sa malversation, sa different types of malversation, yung pong personal benefit. Totoo, meron po nga malversation that requires personal benefit. Pero in technical malversation, hindi ho depensa. Yung meron ho kayo personal benefit. The fact na meron hong maling paggamit doon po sa itinakda ng paggamit po ng pondo, technical malversation na po yun. May kaso lang pong kriminal yun. At ano ho ba yung pinag-uusapan natin sa misuse of confidential funds? Pinag-uusapan ho natin sa misuse of confidential funds. Tama ba na ginagamit po for what? For team building activities, yung pong confidential funds. Di ba? And finally, as an additional and new point, Madam Chair, one of the defenses relating to Madriaga, which is being, I think, stated today by the Office of the Vice President, is that Mr. Madriaga was never an employee of the Office of the Vice President. But I think the point needs to be made that in different parts of the bureaucracy, for example, yung mga contracts of service, yung po mga job orders, hindi naman ho yan technically empleyado ng mga opisina. Hindi ho ba? So I don't think that stands as the defense that Mr. Madriaga is actually not an employee of any of the offices of the Office of the Vice President or when she was Secretary of the Department of Education. And finally, as a final point, yung po mga confidential agents, which is basically, I think, who Madriaga is. Yung mga confidential agents po ba are treated actually as employees of offices that actually implement confidential funds? I don't think so. So, this particular new development, which the Vice President is actually submitting as a defense on Madriaga, would not hold water, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Redon. Before we proceed, we would like to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Ana York P. Bondok from the 4th District of Pampanga. We acknowledge as well the presence of the Honorable Sarah Jane I. Ilago from Gabriela Party List. And finally, we acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Congresswoman Rene Ann Lourdes Matibag from the 1st District of Laguna. Thank you for coming. To conclude our deliberation on the second round, I wish to express the significance of all your arguments, but let me manifest my observation as well that despite our resolve to adopt already our deliberation in the sufficiency and substance of the third impeachment complaint with respect to similar grounds, it appears that we are raising the same arguments and manifestations.
Madam
So,
Chair.
I understand that we value all your manifestations, but please allow the chair to continue on encouraging you to raise new arguments instead. The Honorable Defensor.
Madam Chair, may I just remind the members of the committee that it is the intention of the framers of our Constitution that once an impeachment complaint has been initiated, the proceedings must be expedited, madaliin, hindi para sagasaan, for two reasons. First, na kung wala namang palang kasalanan ang isang respondent, dapat mabilis natin ma-dismiss, mabilis siyang ma-acquit sa trial. At kung meron man sa pre-trial pa lang o katulad nitong nasa committee pa lang, mabilisan din at huwag paulit-ulitin. Kasi kung masama at may kasalanan, dapat pumunta agad sa trial. I hope that we will not be redundant in our discussions for the succeeding grounds and that we will limit our manifestation simply to the recital of facts to determine whether there is sufficiency in substance. Thank you.
The Honorable Asidre.
Madam Chair, just to refresh the memory of the members who were probably not part of the investigations that were conducted last year, I do remember doing the interpellation of the disbursement officer, asking her who gave the instruction to transfer the said amounts to Colonel La Chica. And plainly and under oath, she manifested that it was the Vice President who gave that instruction. So clearly, Madam Chair, that being part of the attachments to the impeachment complaint, that provides a clear connection between the Vice President's instruction and the actions that were taken by the assigned officers.
Thank you. Next is the Honorable Gonzales.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with the manifestation of our Senior Deputy Majority Leader. Kasi kung paulit-ulit po, yung oras o panahon ay nasasayang, mas mayroon pa po tayong mas maraming pwedeng itaken na equally important matter po.
And we have 5 grounds remaining.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. That's all.
To conclude our deliberation on the second ground, ibabalik po natin ang floor sa ating mga endorsers. Now we recognize the Honorable Benny Abante.
Madam Chair, just being able to answer the manifestation of Congressman Nasal, binanggit po niya kasi yung rapid encashment, no, na hindi impeachable offense. No? Rapid encashment of 125 million in just 11 days in December 2022. Kaya nga po meron tinatawag tayong systematic irregularity because of this rapid encashment. No? The complaint includes evidence of fabricated or defective receipts and unverifiable pays used to liquidate confidential funds in both the OVP and the DepEd. That's the reason why naniniwala po kami dito sa impeachment complaint na ito. Salamat po.
Thank you. Now we proceed to the third ground of the fourth impeachment complaint. The chair will read graft and corruption, bribery, procurement irregularities, command responsibility, citing as specific offenses the following: malversation, failure to disclose, the accumulation of unexplained wealth, command responsibility and agency liability, pattern indicative of graft and unwarranted benefits, and finally, bribery and procurement-related corruption. Now we open the floor for the manifestation of the justice members.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Suwan.
Madam Chair, to reiterate, the requirement of substance is met if there is a recital of facts constituting the offense charged and determinative of the jurisdiction of this committee. Sufficiency in substance does not require proof of guilt. It requires proof that the charge is worthy to be heard. So, if we go to the third ground, it alleges bribery, which is among one of the most serious constitutional charges that can be leveled against a public official. A charge which, by its very nature, demands the highest degree of factual specificity, which means, Madam Chair, that in the complaint, there must be contained very specific factual allegations, which, if you read them together, they will be considered as bribery, and that this bribery must be connected to the Vice President and not just to her subordinates. And that is what we would like to find out today from the endorsers. So with that in mind, Madam Chair, may I request the endorsers, either Chairman Benny Abante or Deputy Speaker Paulo Ortega, to kindly identify which specific ultimate facts in the complaint directly attribute the alleged act of bribery to the Vice President and not just to her subordinates.
The endorsers are requested by the Honorable Suwan to cite the specific facts that constitute the offense of bribery. This is with regards to our third round of the fourth impeachment complaint. I understand that this pertains to the giving of envelopes to the DepEd officials, which are the same videos that were played in our yesterday's hearing. May we hear from the endorsers?
Madam Chair, numerous DEPs and acknowledgement receipts, list of pays, would not be verified by the PSA. It was very much well chronicled during the hearings. Lumabas po yung mga napakasikat po na mga pangalan. Naaalala niyo pa sila Mary Grace Piatos, sila Miggy Mango. I'm sure all of you are familiar with this. Certainly there were ghost beneficiaries or conduits for diversion, and the presence of duplicated names, repeated handwritings, patterns, and receipts dated 2023 to 20, but claimed 2022. And the expenditures indicated fabrication and backdating design to conceal the true disposition of this.
Honorable Suwan?
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Abante. Your question, Honorable Suwan, is about bribery.
Yes, Madam Chair. Are there specific allegations in the complaint which talks about, which if you take them together, will amount to bribery? And can these be connected directly to the Vice President?
So, the Honorable Suwan is asking about the facts that constitute the offense of bribery as cited in our third round of the fourth impeachment complaint. The Honorable Abante.
I remember, Madam Chair, that we have conducted the hearing in the Committee on Good Government, chaired by Congressman Joel Chua, of which I was the Vice Chair. And there, we have actually heard and exposed the allegations of bribery. For example, like the allegations of monetary gifts to DepEd officials. Nabanggit na po kahapon yan yung mga pangalan. There are witness statements and documentary patterns indicate that monetary gifts or payments were distributed to DepEd officials holding procurement-related functions, creating a possible nexus between payment and favorable procurement outcomes. Of course, sa amin, such conduct is proven constitute bribery and corrupt influence in procurement processes. Now, of course, there are procurement irregularities. Amin din pinakita doon sa Committee on Good Government. Bribery and procurement corruption violate RA number 3019 and other procurement laws and regulations. So, we could be able to submit later on, Madam Chair, all of the names. Of course, yesterday, ay pinag-usapan na po ito, even the names have been mentioned. Madam Chair and Congressman.
Honorable Ortega.
Madlang, Madam Chair, the DepEd records show the procurement actions and the contract awards that coincide with the temporarily with the suspicious payments and their transfers.
Madam Chair,
Honorable Suwan.
is there any evidence attached or annexed to the complaint which would support these allegations? Just for formality's sake.
We have annexes here of the bribery and everything. In fact, we have acknowledgement receipt to the tune of 50,000, 30,000, 100,000. You could be able to see it.
I wish to share to the members that the video are part of the evidence to support the fourth impeachment complaint. May I just confirm this from the endorsers? The videos that were played yesterday, videos of Yusek Mercado, Sakalan, and Osayas.
Yes, that is, Madam Chair, that is what we're referring to.
So we're stating for the record that those videos played yesterday forms part as well of the evidence in support of the fourth impeachment complaint, specifically with respect to the third ground.
Yes.
The Honorable Suwan.
Madam Chair, are there documentary evidence attached to the complaint regarding this allegation of bribery?
Yeah, Madam Chair, we have already said that there are a lot of documentary evidence here.
And are these documentary evidence certified through copies?
There are acknowledgement receipts, as I said a while ago, Madam Chair, and I believe that Congressman Suwan can come over and be able to see all of the documentary evidence that we have. Napakarami kasi, no? It would take time for us to be able to.
May we confirm from the endorser if the attachments pertain to the COA documents?
I believe so. In fact, if we could be able to actually even call upon the forensic review of all of the accounts and expenses that have been done by the Office of Vice President.
Honorable Suwan.
Madam Chair, I am asking these questions because I believe that the standard of sufficiency in substance exists for a reason. It is not to make things easy. It is not to make things hard. It is to make things honest. That is all, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair?
Thank you. The Honorable Rodriguez.
Thank you. Madam Chair, in Article 3, it's quite surprising because it puts in the allegation itself on the impeachment grounds, two grounds which are not in the Constitution. Articles 1 and 2 is because they, for example, Article 2 is the public trust and graft and corruption. Here, they have included procurement irregularities. It is not part of the 6 grounds as enumerated in the Constitution, nor common responsibility. Probably, this should have been the parentheses in support of graft and corruption and bribery. In other words, Article 3 are really on graft and corruption, number 4 in the list, and of course, and then bribery third in the list of impeachable offenses. Now, Madam Chair, graft and corruption, there is no recital, nor about bribery. They are still saying that they will be proving later on. There is no bribery. Is really governed by the revised penal code, whether on a criminal level or as part of the to support the impeachable offense of graft, corruption, and bribery. And so, therefore, Madam Chair, there is no recital of facts in this. So, graft and corruption, bribery, there is no clear recital of facts of how. Well, the elements are conducted so that it will clearly show that there was the sufficiency in substance. Now we go to procurement irregularities. This together bribery are on the bed. I will not anymore. Following the chairman's decision, I will just state that they have no jurisdiction on bribery and procurement because they're fed. That's it. We will not elaborate that. Command responsibility, Madam Chair. Command responsibility is the doctrine that was adopted way back in the Nuremberg trial of the Nazi. That was the start of command responsibility. Even if they did not did not be the one to kill Jews and everybody. In that particular case, the Nuremberg court convicted them, Goering, all the others, because of command responsibility. So that is a doctrine started by war crimes in the Second World War. And then, Madam Chair, this doctrine was extended to crimes against humanity because of the Srebrenica massacre in the former Yugoslavia. And so now, these doctrines are really related to war crimes and crimes against humanity. Now, the thing is, the Supreme Court, Madam Chair, has extended this to the Philippine situation, the Supreme Court case, where it's true that this started as war crimes and so forth, but if there is a showing of three elements and one of them is that there is conspiracy, then it can be used. However, I do not see here a recital that there is conspiracy by the Vice President with those who were implementing, allegedly, these illegal acts. So therefore, Madam Chair, very clear that Article 3 is utterly insufficient in substance. Graft and corruption, no recital, bribery, procurement, no jurisdiction, command responsibility. There is no statement of conspiracy. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other member who wishes to
Madam
comment on the third round?
Madam Chair.
The endorser, Honorable Ortega, is recognized.
With response lang, Madam Chair. During the past hearing, we have seen the procurement records. Nakita naman natin yung mga records dati, how they are linked to instances with suppliers, yung connection nila sa mga recipients, sa mga suspicious payments, mga receipts sa awards. Ginamit po itong procurement para pang-diskarte, para mailabas po yung mga kailangan. Siyempre, pag yung supplier, kakilala, kaklose nung mga tao connected sa mga nagpapasupply, siyempre, may nagagamit po na pera dyan, may pinapasok na pera. So, the procurement was part of the scheme. Yun lang po, Ma'am Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable Abante.
I might agree with Congressman Rufus on the conspiracy in Gelno. But I would think that there is command responsibility and participation. It might not be Gestapo-like, but of course, yung mga staff ng Vice President will not act on these things without direct participation of their boss. You see, hindi naman pwedeng gumawa sila ng mga bagay-bagay na hindi alam ng kanilang boss tungkol dito. Madam Chair, yun lang po.
Madam Chair, just to answer,
Honorable Rodriguez and then Honorable Nazal.
but here there is no. But I am not recognized.
Yes, you are recognized.
Precisely, Madam Chair, what is stated here is command responsibility, not direct participation. So if you go through the recital of facts, it is what the Honorable Abante said, because it is, if you will read here very clear, it is stated here, it's about command responsibility. It would have been different if it was said direct participation. It is not alleged here the direct participation, the chair of the secretary on the employees of the DepEd. And again, once again, there is no jurisdiction of this committee on all this bribery and this procurement, because these are DepEd. He are acting as secretary. Duterte versus House of Representatives, the Constitution, Administrative Code of 1987, it should be acts done by the Vice President in relation to her office as Vice President. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Honorable Abante.
Madam Chair. The office of the Vice President Disbursement Voucher and Liquidation Report. Per respondent certification and approval. Pangalawa, when we had the hearing in the Committee on Good Government, the staff testified that they acted on instructions from the head of agency. Ito naman po, regular naman to sa lahat ng institutions. This fact support, ano yun? Direct liability. The head of agency who approves and certifies disbursements, who instructs SDOs to turn over cash to intermediaries, cannot disclaim responsibility.
I just wish to invite the attention of the justice members that yes, in yesterday's hearing, the Honorable De Lima read and presented the certifications signed by the Vice President as attesting party to the DepEd official in support of the utilization of confidential funds. I believe this is with respect to the military officers' activity. So that is for the
Madam Chair,
record.
we did not anymore try to repeat all of the evidences here because the evidences have been already talked about and discussed yesterday. Tama na po siguro yun.
Thank you. So
Point of
that
order, Madam
concludes-
Chair. Point of order. Madam
There's a
Chair,
point of order. Honorable Defensor.
may I bring up again our rule that this is only a determination based on a recital of facts in the complaint. And it is only a determination of sufficiency in substance. Let's save this for trial. Let's hear the members, but let's do it quickly, based on the intentions of our framers to expedite impeachment proceedings based on the Constitution.
The point of order is sustained. The justice
Okay.
members are reminded to confine the deliberation to the determination of sufficiency in substance. The
Okay.
justice members are further reminded that the discussions on the same grounds in the third impeachment complaint have been adopted. So kindly confine your manifestation to new matters only. The Honorable Pino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, upon reading this part of the fourth complaint, I would say that the allegation of bribery and procurement lacks a recital of facts. No? Let me read. The only time this complaint mentions bribery is in paragraph 171. And it says here, witness statements and documentary patterns indicate that monetary gifts or payments were distributed to DepEd officials holding procurement-related functions, creating a plausible nexus between payments and favorable procurement outcomes. Okay? That's a good starting point. However, there is no further elaboration or narration of facts as to which officials in particular were bribed, what particular transactions, if any, were involved, the amounts, and so on and so forth. So, medyo, in this case po, ay wala na pong ibang narration of facts eh. Kaya medyo kulang po. Unlike in the third complaint, na nakapangalan po yung mga opisyal ng DepEd na allegedly tumanggap and so on and so forth. So yun lang po ang obserbasyon ko dito. Medyo kulang yung narration of facts which is required in order to substantiate the ground of graft and corruption. Yun lang po ang obserbasyon ko rito.
The manifestation is noted. Any other manifestation?
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Nasal.
Thank you, Madam
We're
Chair.
still on the third round.
Yes, ma'am. Article 3 alleges bribery, pero gaya ng nilinaw sa PBBM proceedings, bribery requires the pleading of a complete quid pro quo equation. Ito ay nangangailangan ng malinaw na paglahad ng mga sumusunod. An identified bribe giver, an identified bribe taker, a specific official act influenced. Magkano ang naging usapan?
Point of order, Mr. Chief, Madam
At isang malinaw na
There's a point of order. Let's hear the point of order first. Before we proceed, the Honorable Ridon is recognized.
Mula po kanina yung ating pong kaibigan, si Congressman Nasal, ulit-ulit niyang meron po siyang reference to the BBM impeachment complaint relating to these things, no? Pero umupo po tayo lahat eh. It's like 2 weeks ago, Madam Chair. But I don't remember any reference of these particular types of discussion to the BBM complaint. So maybe I have forgotten it, maybe I have misheard it, but I'm quite certain that the 2 points that our colleague had stated had absolutely no reference to the BBM impeachment complaint, Madam Chair. I think what was clarified, and it was I who clarified it, is the point that mahalaga po yung usapin na personal knowledge at authentic documents sa mga usapin po sa pag-uusap po natin. And nothing more. So I think we have to direct our good colleague to clarify as to which particular reference to the BBM impeachment complaint has he been referring to in this particular instance and in the previous instance that he referred to in the BBM impeachment complaint.
The Honorable Nasal, please respond to the point of order.
I will cite the specific rulings done during the previous.
Is it your intention to enlighten the committee about the difference in the procedure with regards to, in comparison to the last impeachment hearing against the president?
The intention, ma'am, is to just be consistent with all the rulings that were held during the previous.
You may proceed.
But just to be clear, Madam Chair, I don't think anyone's stopping our colleague from saying his manifestation. I think what needs to be clarified is that I don't think the BBM impeachment complaint standard has no relevancy to the discussion that he wanted to provide today. In the previous discussion that he stated and the previous discussion that he is stating now. Kasi nga ho, the standard that has been discussed last time was very specific to the matter of authentic documents and personal knowledge. Wala ho tayo pinag-usapan labas pa ho roon.
With all due respect, it was pronounced by the chair during the start of our impeachment proceeding against the Vice President that we will be adopting the same parameter, the same procedure that we used in the impeachment proceeding against the President.
Yun lang
So,
naman po ang hinihingi natin, ma'am.
if you have a clear disparity to point out, yes, you may proceed, Honorable Nasal.
I was just pointing out, referencing to certain actions done during the previous hearing, ma'am.
Kindly point out the disparity that you have observed so far.
Wala naman ako sinasabing disparity, ma'am. I was just pointing.
Well, if there is no disparity between the previous and the current proceeding, perhaps you should just go straight to your manifestation.
Yes,
With
ma'am.
respect to our third ground,
I
which
was
is the
not
subject
pointing
matter
out,
of our
ma'am, to
current
any disparity.
deliberation.
I was just saying, I was just referencing na,
Alright.
na dapat pareho lang.
I think the chair has ruled, Madam Chair, because allowing him to proceed without ruling on the point of order would basically impinge on our previous proceedings.
Madam
The
Chair,
point of order is to say the Honorable Nasal is enjoined from making reference to the impeachment proceeding against the President. Please go direct to your manifestation in relation to our ground for impeachment subject matter of our current deliberation.
thank you, ma'am. I'll just continue. Pag binasa natin ang Article 3, it alleges movements of funds and operational handling, ngunit hindi nito malinaw na tinukoy ang isang corrupt agreement, hindi rin nito tinukoy ang kung anong official act ang di unoy na impluensyahan, at wala rin malinaw na aligasyon ng personal benefit na natanggap ng respondent. Ang kahina-hinalang daloy ng pondo ay hindi otomatikong nangangahulugan ng bribery. Conclusions of law cannot replace ultimate facts. Tulad ng paulit-ulit na ipinatupad sa prior sufficiency determinations, narrative detail alone does not cure the absence of essential elements. Dahil dito, Article 3 likewise fails to meet the required threshold of sufficiency in substance. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Azal. There are no other members who would like to make a manifestation on Article 3. We now move on to Article 4. Bribery, procurement irregularities, and corruption. Any member who wishes to make a manifestation on this article?
Mr. Chairman,
Congressman Rufus Rodriguez.
again, Article 4 does not provide for the six grounds for impeachment. Only one, bribery. In the title of Article 4, it says bribery, procurement irregularities, and related corruption. These are not found in the Constitution, only bribery. And then there's a parenthesis down there which says Department of Education, Transactions, and Monetary Gifts. In other words, again, as a whole, just to not to belabor the point, but just to state that my continuing objection to the jurisdiction of this committee on acts of former Secretary Sara Duterte in the DepEd. Plus, Madam Mr. Chair, there is also no clear recital of this bribing, whom, how much, who gave. In other words, there is completely no recital in this case. And so therefore, I would say that Article 4 we have no jurisdiction and has no recital of facts, and therefore should be dismissed. Thank you.
Your continuing objection is noted, Congressman Rufus Rodriguez. Congressman Sanday.
Yes. Mr. Chair, while I maintain the same position that her actions as DepEd Secretary should have no bearing in this impeachment complaint, I would like to further elucidate on Article 4 on the alleged bribery. Now, ang Article 4 ay nagsasabi may bribery sa DepEd procurement activities. Ang pangunahing allegation, respondent distributed monetary gifts and other advantages to certain officials of the DepEd connected with procurement activities. Nagpakita pa nga tayo kahapon ng 3 video pero kahit dun sa video yung ipinakita ng 3 opisyal na nagbigay ng mga statement, hindi rin malinaw kung paano naging bribery ang alleged envelopes o monetary gift. Yung kay Mercado, doon sa pinakitang video, sinabi niya nakakuha siya ng envelope, parte raw siya ng bag, pero doon sa narration niya, in fact, meron raw bidding na hindi natuloy. So, para saan yung pera? Hindi rin naman pala natuloy yung bidding. So, si Usayas naman, sinabi niya, hindi siya, may nakuha siya, pero hindi naman daw siya membro ng BAC. Hindi rin sila at kung ano yung pinagawa sa kanya. Sa bribery, kailangan ipakita ang quid pro quo. May binigay ng pera o benefit, kapalit ng specific official acts. Sa complaint, binasa natin to, hindi pinakita kung anong procurement decision ang allegedly binili. Hindi rin malinaw kung ang mga acts na ginawa ng DepEd officials ay hindi talaga parte ng kanilang regular duties. Kung ang ginawa ng official ay expected functions of their office, mahirap i-frame yon as bribery. Mas lalo pang lalabo kung ang allegation ay dahil sa sariling statement lang ng mga taong ipinakita. Kung hindi niya binuksan ng envelope, hindi rin malinaw. Kung may pera nga sa loob, kung magkano, kung anong laman, well, that was based on the statement of Mercado. Pero kailangan ipakita natin, meron bang ginawang kapalit? At saan nanggaling yung pera? Because there was just an assumption that it came from DepEd funds. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Sanday. Any other member? Was a manifestation on as far as Article 4 is concerned?
Thank you.
Congressman Chua.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, we have discussed this issue thoroughly yesterday, and I think we should move on to the next ground. And I maintain my position with respect to Article 4. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Chua. Any other member? There being none, then we proceed to Article 5. Unexplained wealth, salon violations, bank records, and financial forensics. Any member who wishes to make a manifestation on this article?
Yes.
Congressman Rufus Rodriguez.
Mr. Chairman, here, there is no statement there is no proposition that one of the 6 grounds or more of the Constitution has been violated. Unexplained wealth is not in the Constitution. Salary violations is not in the Constitution. Bank records, financial forensics are not in the Constitution. However, let's take this. As probably I will now be able to just be able to assume window that this may be to be able to support the betrayal of public trust. But Mr. Chairman, the problem with Article 4 is that there are absolutely no recital of facts constituting the offense charge, because we don't even have the offense charge. There is no statement of either culpable violation of the Constitution. Second is treason. Third, Mr. Chairman, is bribery. Fourth is graft corruption. Fifth is other high crimes. And sixth, betrayal of public trust. Nothing in Article 5 of this fourth impeachment complaint. So clearly, there is no recital of facts. How is there unexplained wealth? There is no statement that the Vice President received so much money and has deposited so much money, has acquired so much properties, that there is unexplained wealth. Because this is also defined under Republic Act 1379, RA 1379, which is the civil forfeiture of illegally acquired wealth. Nothing. Nothing on this. Also, there is no statement of which SALN violations. Because in the third complaint, it was the SALN from 2007 to 2017 as she was vice mayor and mayor. But nothing on SALNs from 2022 when she became vice president, June 30, 2022 up to now. Nothing. There's no statement here. So the second will again fall, the violation. Bank records. What bank records are you talking about? There is no attachment of any bank record or any statement of bank record. And then financial forensics. This is something that is a matter of evidence, not as a ultimate statement of facts. So therefore, that is why they are requesting. If you go to page 59, look at this. This is not a recital of facts. What does it say? 59. 247 paragraph. To determine the existence and extent of unexplained wealth and SALN violations, I respectfully request, Attorney Cabrera, respectfully request that the Honorable House of Representatives, through the appropriate committee, take the following actions. Issue subpoena. We are not yet there. The only problem with this is a clear request for a fishing expedition against the Vice President. So very clear. In Article 4, there is nothing that recites facts that will lead us to say that there is a sufficiency of substance, and therefore, very clear, what do they ask here? To order preservation of vault inventories. Can you imagine that in this particular proceeding already asking for us to fish? And then we also authorize coordination with COA, the Bureau of Internal Revenue, Anti-Money Council. But they have to first recite statement, ultimate facts, constituting. There is none, Madam Chair. So therefore, clearly, this particular, by a very face on the face, at the four corners, under positive law, where you can only look at the four corners, like in this case on finding substance, you have to look at the statements in the four corners of the document. And there's nothing there about all of these allegations. Therefore, Madam Chair, Article 4,
Did I take a shower this morning?
there is no sufficiency of substance. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The Honorable Po and then the Honorable Susan.
Madam Chair, of course, with Madam Chair, may I be allowed to answer after Congressman
Yes,
Suntay?
you will be called after the Honorable Suntay.
Madam Chair, with due
may
respect
proceed.
to my colleague and someone I believe is very knowledgeable when it comes to the law and the Constitution,
And
I'd like
two,
to cite that Article
I wish
11,
that
Section
looks
17.
good.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy.
is clear
Yeah, but
that
if you
public
see anything
officers are
else,
required
you
to
can.
file a
Yeah.
true and complete statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth. And this is not a minor administrative requirement. It is constitutional duty grounded in public accountability. So at this stage, our task, Madam Chair, is quite limited. We're not determining guilt, and we are not conducting a forensic audit. We're deciding whether the allegations are ultimately true. So we are determining sufficiency and substance. And what I have noticed and what I've observed here in this complaint is that, as our honorable colleague has mentioned, there seems to be no silent copies, no bank records, and no forensic financial reports attached to this complaint. However, I wouldn't say it's a expedition. So, if I may ask some points, clarification to our sponsor, our colleague, Rep. Abante. I'd like to ask.
The endorsers' attention are invited regarding questions to be raised by the Honorable Poe.
To further give, light to this issue, may I ask what specific transactions, properties, accounts, and increases are being cited indicative of unexplained wealth? Maybe are there particular salin years where material omissions were alleged?
May we hear from our endorsers?
Well, to add, Madam Chair, the complaint narrates that the forensic records of the VP reveal glaring discrepancies as to the inflows and the transfers of funds in her banks as compared to her declared income in her SALN po. These discrepancies do not account by any lawful income or declaration of gifts, thereby giving the rise for reasonable inference or originated from illicit resources, Madam Chair.
You are referring to the income of the Vice President vis-a-vis what appears in her account. Honorable Ortega, may we hear your confirmation?
Yes.
Madam Chair, which account? Which bank records? Because we are here ultimate facts. Which bank account, which bank record are we talking about here if it's stated here? Because I have read this thoroughly 3 times already and I did not see any.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, but maybe us first, our endorser. Because we have to have ultimate facts. When you say bank records, then you have a duly authenticated bank statement given by the bank.
With all due respect to the Honorable Rodriguez.
Yes, ma'am.
Let us all be reminded of the bank secrecy law. While the bank account is significant, I think we are not in the position to expect the complainants
Thank you.
to provide
Good night.
specific details of these accounts in view of the bank secrecy law. And we all understand that impeachment proceeding is the only avenue by which the complainants may be able to look into this and perhaps avail of the documents necessary to support this specific ground. That is for the record. The honorable endorsers are recognized to respond to the Honorable Rodriguez.
Therefore, the need for forensic financial review, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Let's go back to the Justice member who raised this question. The Honorable Poe is again recognized.
So continuing on that point and manifestation, since there are no documents or bank records that could be cited, was there maybe any sworn testimony, public disclosures, audit findings, financial statements, or comparative SALN data over the years that may have been used as the basis for this ground?
The Honorable Poe is asking about the specific documents or evidence in support of the fifth ground for the impeachment complaint. That is in view of the bank secrecy law. What therefore are the evidence so far attached or considered in support of the fifth ground of the fourth impeachment complaint?
Madam Chair, it would not be automatic for us to be able to tell those banks more because of the bank CBC law. That's the reason why ito, kung pinag-uusapan natin yung impeachment complaint na ito, lalabas po ito sa trial. We are not yet in the trial. We are just talking about the sufficiency of substance dito. Yung bang sufficiency of substance na pinag-uusapan natin? Meron. But in everything in this, I would like to tell our colleagues here, no, this will all come out in the trial, in the impeachment court. See, yun po ang nais ko sabihin sa lahat.
The Honorable Rodriguez.
In answer to my good chairman, Committee on Human Rights, there has to be a recital of facts. And in a recital of facts, there must be a reference to in other words, there has to be a nexus of the state, the regularity in SALN and bank records by the bank records, the SALNs. And so therefore, it is totally devoid of any particular recital of facts. Because that is what we need. We cannot go further if there's no recital of facts constituting the offense charge. Because in fact, the statement of Honorable Brian that there is a requirement in the Constitution of SALN, whatever it is not in the 6. To construe the constitutional provisions, you are very much limited to the enumeration. Use them generis. If it's not in the it's not in the enumeration, it cannot be a ground. So again, culpable violation of the Constitution. Second, treason. Third, bribery. Fourth, graft and corruption. Other high crimes with the public trust. No statement about having an inaccurate or untruthful SALN as a ground for impeachment. So that is what we are. We have to therefore have that. So just to be able to respond to the statement that there is a violation of the Constitution that is culpable, it is not, Madam Chair. In fact, those in SALN can even be able to reform and refile a corrected one. Madam Chair.
The Honorable Defensor.
Madam Chair.
And then the Honorable Abante.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The most democratic way to settle this, whether there is a recital of facts or not, is to follow the rulings of the Supreme Court that in impeachment proceedings, each member is allowed to decide for himself how to appreciate the recital of facts or the evidence. And the best way to do that is by voting later on. So let's proceed and let's not stall anymore. Thank you.
We invite the attention of the members to the manifestation of the Honorable Defensor. There is no quantum of evidence required in determining the sufficiency in substance. And in the case of Merceditas Gutierrez, it has been upheld by the Supreme Court. The decision rests to the exclusive judgment of the individual members of the Justice Committee.
Madam Chair.
I think that rests our discussion
Madam Chair.
on this specific ground.
Let me just answer.
The Honorable Abante.